So, hello YouTube. Thought I'd just kind of showcase a little bit of the power of nature here. Kind of ripping apart this old tree of mine. And we had a F1 tornado kind of form up not too far from my place here. Rip a tree, uproot a tree next to my place. And also, oh, there's a little frog. Look at this little guy. Let's see if we can see him. Yeah, there he is. I like taking a moment to showcase little creatures and critters when I run into them. So, anyway, funny thing is, me and my wife, we snuck out, drove about 30 minutes to a nearby town to get some food for the kids and all that. Surprise everybody. Well, we got right in the middle of the storm out there. It hit our place first while we were gone. You see, it's kind of, hey, at least it didn't tear down this power line. Holy shit. That could have been a fucked up situation. Yeah. Anyway, so while we were out and about, got the warning. We expected rain. We didn't expect tornadic weather. So this F1 apparently formed in that field nearby, and it just kind of grazed my place, more or less uprooted the tree next to my place, which did not fall on it. Obviously some damage to trees. So it came through an F1. Look across the pasture here and see another tree down, another one torn apart. There's some damage. It also flattened a barn. Oh, this one's been really fucked up there. Looks like I'm gonna have a lot of work here this summer. But it also flattened a neighbor's barn that's been there for like 30 or 40 years. Big, large barn with a tin roof on it. Absolutely flattened the shit out of it. So, if I was to talk about any particular subject today, I'll wait for this truck to go by. Noisy motherfuckers. It'll be the power of nature. Nature reigns supreme, right? Here we are taking a look at this wood. Sometimes this wood will stab into the ground. Like, I've had trees down, and look at this, it's like a dagger stabbing into the ground. So, I guess, of course there's still some thunder and lightning going on, but when me and my wife were in town getting food, it was extremely dark. For those of you who've never been in tornadic weather, it's a very strange, dark, menacing green color. You know, it's very unusual to see. I mean, look at this. This tree here, for example, this limb here was way up high. This branch was way up high and was ripped off and thrown right into the ground here. Yeah, pretty incredible. Mind you, this is an F1. Probably just barely formed, ran through, went up the road, and sacked a barn. That's the tiny tornadoes. That's not the monsters that we see. Oh, here we go again. I've got multiple down trees that I didn't even notice earlier. Look at this one. Completely split, completely destroyed. It just entirely ripped this tree completely down. I've had small tornadoes take sheds right from where I'm standing years ago and throw them into the pasture and spike them like a football. It's just unreal. So, but yes, the weather becomes a very special color of green. The sky does. It's hard to really describe. Of course, we're going to get more flooding, but that's kind of typical around here this time of year. And what I find fascinating by this kind of power of nature, and I kind of have to address this more to those of you who live in cities or have lived in cities your whole life. And that is, oftentimes you get a false sense of control over things. You develop a false sense of power and control over the world around you. Everything is at the push of a button when you live in a city. I mean, really, for the most part, in rural countrysides, if you live in them, you tend to have that same experience as well, right? You tend to have control over our world. We use technology. You know, if you live in an urban environment, you're likely to find some form of shelter. You're likely to find other people. You're likely to find resources such as food, water, what have you, as long as those systems, those human man-made systems, are in effect. But when you're more or less in the wild and you're in areas that are vulnerable to nature in all its power, you learn that you're not the center of the world. I think rural living has the advantage of, it can deter that bit of narcissism that you see in a lot of people in urban settings. So nature can teach us a realistic sense of ourselves and what power we really have or don't have, right? We are in control of ourselves, even that only so far. You know, so, and this is not even getting into the ideas of, is there a sentience behind forces in nature and things like that, right? Just nature in its raw, untamed state. And as I speak, the wind's picking up a bit. It's not tornadic, but we still have thunder and lightning, and I'm standing out here among a bunch of trees. So, a lot of damage. I'm sure there's going to be more limbs snapping and falling, so I got to keep an eye on that shit. And so it just, living within nature will shift your perspective of yourself. Now, for me, I learned this lesson a long, long time ago. I grew up in the Rocky Mountains, far away from here. I grew up in Wyoming, and I spent a lot of time in very wild places. You can freeze to death in the summer up there. Get snow on you. Up in the Wind River Mountains, trying not to perish from a blizzard in July when you're in high altitude environments and you're surrounded by maybe even dangerous wildlife in some areas. True isolation, where I know that if I remember being 13 years old and walking away from a camp, and I realized if I twist my ankle away from my family who's camped out somewhere up there, there's a very good probability that I'm going to freeze to death or die or never see them again, because it's going to be hard to find me. I'll be a needle in a haystack. So nature will humble you. It'll remind you that in this great big scheme of things, we are insignificant. And even in those cities where everything seems to be under your control at the push of a button, and you prioritize these human connections and human interactions and your social media presence. A lot of women seem to fall prey to this more than the men typically, this social networking that they're doing. You start to realize how insignificant it really all is in the greater scheme of things. Nature and natural forces are unrepentant, are uncompromising. Nature wins in the end, right? So, well, this is kind of fun. That just means I got a lot of fucking work to do, though. That big son of a bitch right there, probably ready to fall and spear me right to the ground. That'd be irony, wouldn't it? This fucker fell on me right now and impaled my ass to the ground. I'm dead with this fucking camera and blood pouring out. Yeah, that'd be fucking hilarious. Gotta admit, that'd be a hilarious way to die. So yeah, interesting shit. Gotta love it. Gotta enjoy it. So anyway, thought I'd just jot this out there. Some quick thoughts. I'm fortunate the tree that got uprooted didn't land on my house. Didn't get blown off the road, because me and my wife in the town earlier, we were about to get hit by a tornado. Had to pull off the road. When shit starts swirling and it's so black you can't see and it's daytime, yeah, not a good thing. But I'm here. I got my biscuits and gravy and my coffee. So, and looks like we're gonna get some flooding. Anyway, nature reigns supreme. There's no getting around it. Hope you all have a great day. Hopefully, maybe this overstating of the obvious rings true for some people who've never heard it before or realized it. Maybe just something to dwell on, right? Anyway, have a good one, folks. I'll see you next time.